24th of February, 2023, police discovered something in a soup pot in an unseeming apartment in Hong Kong. Their discovery would shock not only Hong Kong, but the entire world. Let's talk about it. Abby Choi lived a life that most people can only dream about. Born in 1994 in Hong Kong, she belonged to one of its many wealthy families. Abby's family established a building empire in a steadily growing city that not only made them rich, but also part of the high society. But while her parents and her sister kept themselves out of the public eye, Abby had a different plan. She started an Instagram account, and within months, she gathered thousands of followers. She showed off a luxurious lifestyle, shopping sprees, and travels to faraway places. It didn't take long before high fashion clothing brands took notice of the young girl, and Abby managed to jump from Instagram into the real model world. Within a few years, Abby managed to accumulate her own wealth. In 2023, she had established a net worth of 100 million Hong Kong dollar, or 11 million US dollars. She was partying with the rich and famous and was placed into the first row of international runways. She even walked them herself for Chanel and Dior. Abby Choi became one of China's biggest and most known influencers and models. But Abby wanted more. She wanted international stardom. At the beginning of 2023, this goal seemed to be within reach. She was put on the cover of a famous fashion magazine from Monaco. Sadly, this wasn't what would bring Abby international recognition. Only a few days after she posted the cover on her Instagram, Abby disappeared. What happened to her shocked the entire world. Before we talk about what happened to Abby, we need to go back a few years. With only 18, Abby got married for the first time to the also 18-year-old Alex Wong. Unlike Abby, Alex was neither rich nor part of the Hong Kong high society. Shortly after they got married, the two welcomed 2 children into the world. But the marriage didn't last. After only 3 years, the two separated. Why they got divorced, no one really knows. Her friends would later tell police that Abby never talked badly about Alex or his family. Because Abby kept financially supporting Alex and his family, the common consensus was that the two separated as friends. She kept the support up even after she got a new partner. In 2016, Abby met the millionaire Chris Tam. He was the son of the owner of one of Hong Kong's biggest fast food chains. Shortly after meeting, the two celebrated a wedding party, but they never officially got married. Once more, Abby gave birth to 2 children, and Chris treated her first children like his own. But Abby made sure that Alex always saw his kids, and she also tried to keep up close friendship with her ex-husband and his family, probably also because she was his family's sole provider. Alex's father, Wang Kao, was a high-up police officer till 2005 and used to be the sole breadwinner of his family, till he was suddenly let go. If Abby knew why he was let go, no one knows. But he stood accused of assaulting a woman. Alex also stood accused of a crime in 2015, a fraudulent gold investment in the millions. But to Abby, none of that seemed to matter. She bought her in-laws and their 2 sons a multi-million-dollar apartment in one of Hong Kong's most exclusive addresses, Kadoorie Hill. They essentially lived there like renters, but Abby never made them pay a cent. Abby told friends that she owed her former family this, at least. And really, for her this apartment wasn't expensive. Her friends later said that Abby was very charitable. She gave a lot of money for good causes. What the young woman didn't know was that her charitability towards this family would sign her death warrant. Abby didn't just give them money, she also essentially raised them into the upper society. They shared their building with some of the richest people in Hong Kong. Alex even joined in on a lot of exotic travels that Abby and Chris did, so he could be with his children. Abby also had a really close relationship with Alex's older brother Anthony. She even hired him as a driver, and he accompanied her to parties and events. He went shopping with her and sometimes even babysat her children. The two even tried a business venture together, a pancake restaurant. Unfortunately, it didn't make enough money to stay open. And this is how it went on for about 7 years after the divorce. 7 years of luxury and free living for Alex and his parents. But after these 7 years, Abby had had enough. No one really knows why. The police of course questioned her friends, but even they could only guess. Some thought that she didn't want the strain of their criminal activities to hinder her international career. Others thought that she finally realized that they were only using her. What we know for sure is that Abby decided that she not only didn't want to give them money anymore, she also wanted to sell the apartment, which was worth about $7 to $8 million. But that didn't mean she wanted to completely cut them off. She was actually looking for cheaper apartments for them, and Anthony also still worked for her. As you can imagine, this made the Wongs angry. In February 2023, the relationship between Abby and her former family was tense. While Abby was in Paris walking red carpets and enjoying the fashion week, her late father-in-law rented a small apartment in a shady part of town. The only thing Cao Wong put into the apartment were an oven, a fridge, pots, a meat grinder, a hammer, and a bone saw. Abby returned to Hong Kong after the fashion week in Paris. On the 21st of February 2023, she was getting ready to pick up one of her daughters from school, but she never showed up. The school called Chris Tam to pick up the child. Chris was immediately worried. Abby never missed picking her children up, and she didn't answer her phone, another thing she normally always does. He reported her missing the same evening. The police immediately went looking, and Abby's disappearance made the news the same day. It didn't take the police long to find the first clue. They checked the security cameras of her building, and there was Abby, leaving the building leaving to pick up her child, and then the first red flag popped up. The car she was getting into was Anthony's, her driver. The same Anthony that told police during his questioning that he hadn't seen Abby that day. So police checked the GPS of the car, and it showed that it stopped at Anthony's and Abby's place. Then the car left the city to a suburban area. Long Mai Sin, the same small village where the Kwongs rented the apartment. 3 days after her disappearance, the police went to the apartment. And not only them, the apartment was surrounded by photographers that all found out that the police was looking for Abby in the small town. The apartment was on the ground floor. Every window was taped shut with black tape and was basically empty, minus the kitchen. As police later said, when they entered the kitchen, they knew something was off, because it didn't look like a kitchen. As one police officer said, it looked like a butcher shop. In the midst of all the meat processing tools that were laying around stood one crucial piece of evidence: Abby's handbag. I'm gonna tell you now what these monsters did to her, and trust me, viewer discretion is advised. Obviously, I'm gonna keep it as brief and neutral as I can, but it's horrific either way. So if you want to skip it, I'll put a timestamp right here on where you should skip to. The police, of course, immediately called in forensics to check out the kitchen. The first thing they did was open the fridge, and in it were 2 cut-off human legs. On the stove, 2 pots were still boiling when the police had entered the apartment. The pots had carrots, radishes, and meat in them. Police, of course, knew that it was very likely not animal meat in there, and as the pathology would confirm, it was human flesh. But that wasn't even the most horrific thing in those pots. When the pathologists dumped them out into buckets, they found human rib bones and a human skull. DNA tests confirmed what everyone already knew. It was Abby's body that had been dismembered in that kitchen. On the skull, pathologists found a giant wound, which led them to believe that she was very likely killed on the way to the apartment with a hammer. This was supported by quite a bit of blood that they found in Anthony's car. Police also checked out the GPS signals of the other cars of the family members, Kwong. They figured out that Anthony stopped at a tunnel leading outside of Hong Kong, and this is where Alex entered the car. But the police wasn't done yet. Quite a bit of Abby's body was still missing, so hundreds of police officers started combing a garbage dump close by the apartment. But to this day, neither Abby's arms, hands, or her torso have been found. As you can imagine, the outcry in Hong Kong was huge, and the entire world was shocked by what had happened and what was done to Abby's body. So the police was under a huge amount of pressure to figure out what happened and who all was involved. Police, of course, found out that Abby wanted to sell the apartment, but sadly, they found papers for new apartments that Abby wanted to buy the Kwongs. But the police think that the family very likely wanted Abby's inheritance. She had 2 children with Alex, and both of them would have gotten a quarter of her wealth. And until their 18th birthday, Alex would have been the manager of that money. The police arrested the entire Kwong family the day they found the apartment. Anthony got charged with her murder, but the police thought someone else was pulling the strings. Abby's late father-in-law, Cao Wong. He also got charged with murder. Her former mother-in-law got charged with preventing justice, because till today they can't prove that she was actively involved in the murder. And then there's Alex. And it's him that police think actually murdered Abby that day in the car. So of course he also got charged with murder. But he got charged in absence, because Alex had disappeared. With his disappearance started Hong Kong's biggest manhunt to date. Hundreds of police officers and members of the Hong Kong Special Forces combed the country for the 28-year-old man. But Alex only managed to disappear for a day. Police caught him at a harbor trying to board a yacht. Alex was wearing a pretty expensive watch. Now I know you might be wondering why I'm mentioning this. The watch was stolen. As it turned out, Alex had been breaking into apartments and stealing expensive watches and money before Abby got murdered. Now the Wongs weren't the only people arrested. Only a few days after Alex was found, police arrested Cao's mistress, a massage therapist by the name of Yung Yung. Police accused her of helping the family getting the apartment ready. On the 2nd of March, a 6th person was arrested. Henry Shun, the guy that rented the yacht out to Alex under a fake name. And a 7th person, Irene, who was also accused of helping Alex, was arrested too. Minus Henry, everyone is in prison to this day. No court date has been set yet. Chris has decided to raise the 4 children, along with Abby's mom. Even Alex's 2 children, because they have truly lost everyone that day in February. So what do you think? Was there another motive minus money? And what would just punishment be? Let me know what you think down below. Don't forget to give this a like and to subscribe, and I hope to see you again in my next video. Until then, stay safe, and remember, sometimes you will get the worst punishment for trying to be a good person and helping others. Not everyone is worth your efforts.